this guy's beating me, this guy is an asshole, this guy is this guy is that.
Yeah.
It's easy to see it that way. It wasn't until I had a couple of little mini humans of my own that I had to sit back and really think about, you know, the choices you make and your fears and your hopes and all of this for your children. And I would like to believe that somewhere beneath the exterior of shitty that I was granted by that man, that somewhere he had the thought, I go to work to feed this boy, or I will guide him in towards being a man. And, you know, I would like to think that just somewhere in the midst of all the negative, that some of that could have occurred. I'll never know about it. I mean, you know, that's both my fathers are dead. So I'll never know. But how it's affected me is to make sure that while I'm here, and, you know, keep in mind, you know, cancer runs in the family. I'm smoking a cigarette right now. So
dumbass.
Chances are I'm not going to be around forever. So I would like to leave my kids with something a little better than what I was left with. Not because what I have, you know, was 100% negative or anything like that, but because that's just part of what being a father is. You want better. If Bill Gates would want better for his kids, okay? Mm-hmm. And we just got done talking about how the guy's got to live, 218 more years, spending $1 million a day, okay? A lot of people would look at that and say, his kids aren't going to have it any better. But he would still want more, no matter how many Bugattis, no matter how many mansions, no matter how, you know, it doesn't matter what you give your children. You always want to give them more. I think that that's what being a father is all about. I think that that's what being a dad is to me. And it's not all bad. I have one good memory of my stepfather. One good memory. I'd run away from home.
Okay.
After fucking up one of his wristwatches, and I just knew I was gonna get that ass whipped. Like there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Okay. I ran away, and after a very short but fucked up ordeal, I ended up being recovered, and it was him that came to get me. Okay. You know, once I had finally realized, okay, I'm in way over my head, and this is fucked up, and you know, police were notified, and all of this, he was the one that actually came. And when he came, without saying anything about the watch, without saying anything about me having run away or anything like that, he came, he picked me up, and I don't remember him like giving me one of those deep, embracing movie hugs or anything like that. I just remember him picking me up and carrying me out to the car and setting me down and saying, it's going to be okay. And that's it. That's all he said that entire trip. We ended up going to my grandmother's, and from there I ended up moving to my grandmother's, like, almost immediately. And I think I only saw my parents, like, twice, like, that next day before, you know, like, taking off and moving. And then after that, that was pretty much the last of the relationship with my father. By the time I had moved back to Granite City and moved in with my mother, my father, you know, my stepfather and my mother had already divorced. Not long after that, he had passed. Okay. So not 100% awful memories with, you know, with everything. And you kind of have to pick that out. You kind of have to reach into the back of your mind.
That one grain of sand.
Yes.
Amongst all the shit.
And you find it. Because if you limit the scope of a person that is supposed to be that impactful on your life, you know, if you limit the scope to just say, I feel like this and no other way, and there is no other quality about this person that I can think of or latch on to or whatnot, I think that you sully your entire relationship with that person. I think that you have to take as much good from a person as you can, even if that person is just sweating bad and evil in spades. You still have to be able to find that little piece that made you smile, even if it was the only time. And that was the one good memory, was the one time that in my stepdad's arms I actually felt safe. It was the first and only time for that.
Wow.
So, my being a father now, I want my children to feel that every time I reach for them. I want them to know that they're safe. I want them to know that they're taken care of. I want them to know that as long as there is as long as there's breath, blood, and bone within me, I will give all of that for them. That's what being a father is to me.
Ed, you're gonna follow up with that?
I don't know if I can really follow up to that.
Because he speaks so well.
That fish. So do my kids. You know they're half white.
Diana, you're going to make me cry, Freeze. That's what Diana said. Do you have anything good to add to that?
Well,
I know I do.
As far as me, my father wasn't around much when I was growing up. Him and my mom divorced when I was 5.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up moving out of state.
Mm-hmm.
He did end up moving back when I was 15, and I actually lived with him briefly. I love my father. I've had a very good relationship with him since I lived with them. And then my stepfather, growing up, he was the one that taught me how to ride a bike, got me into cars, taught me auto mechanics, taught me how to be a man. Granted, my stepfather was an alcoholic, but he wasn't abusive. He was a very caring man. Didn't always show it, but he was definitely a very caring man. And unfortunately, I lost both of them last year.
Sorry to hear that.
They actually passed away less than a month apart. So, very. It's definitely a very emotional day for me, and I do miss them both and still love them both.
Okay. Well,
Andrew,
I got my own story.
Go for it.
And I just wrote on the chat room, we're all broken.
Yes.
We're all hashtag broken.
Yes.
So, my mom and dad were dating, and surprise, I became a part of that.
Nice.
So they ended up doing what all men and women in the 70s did when they found out they were having a surprise child. They got married.
Well, yeah, makes sense.
At least that's what they did, at least in quote-unquote good Catholic households.
That was the thing to do.
Modus operandi, or whatever the hell it's pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
So they moved in together. They got married. Shit happened. They got divorced when I was 4.
Oh.
My dad, I have a lot of good memories from like age birth until about age 8. Really good memories, like life-altering. This guy's the best dad in the world. And he found a lady to start a new family with. And he up and moved one week without letting anybody know.
Oh, wow.
And I lost track of him for the most part, for approximately 10 to 20 years. 10 because we had reconnected like 99, 2000, and then lost in touch for another decade, and then found each other again. I had a wicked step monster, and who I did not appreciate, and still do not like to this day.
Gotcha.
And I won't go any further because I do have 2 brothers because of her.
Gotcha.
And I love them dearly, and I don't want to.
It's one of those bitter pills.
Right. I don't want to besmirch her name.
Gotcha.
Because of them.
Gotcha.
Because I respect them and I love them.
Right.
Now, my dad, on the other hand, he and I, I got to see him for the first time in like 15 years.
Wow.
Last year in July when one of my brothers got married.
Nice.
And so there's a picture I actually posted on my Facebook page of he and I standing next to each other. And outside of me being like 6 inches taller than him, it's like looking at me
In a mirror.
Oh, yeah. It's a damn mirror.
Yeah.
My stepdad, my mom ended up meeting this guy who everybody called Doc.
Oh, nice.
Even though he was nowhere smart enough to be a doctor. It's the truth. It's the truth. He didn't finish the 10th grade. Okay?
Gotcha.
Very smart from a mechanic standpoint and from a common sense standpoint, but
he had a lot of practical hands-on.
Yeah, and he read the paper front to back every day.
Gotcha.
But he's not a learned individual, and he and I butted heads constantly. And he was an alcoholic, and it was not a very good situation. I did not like growing up in the household with my mom and him. But he taught me a couple very important things. Taught me how to ride a bike. I could not ride a bike until like the age of 9. Most of my friends learned at like 6 and 7. I had to just kind of, me and my fat ass had to like waddle around them, hoping that I could try and keep up, which I never did. But he finally taught me how to ride a bike. He taught me how to make scrambled eggs. Because at like 3 o'clock in the morning on a school night, he'd come home drunk and would like, I need my roll of sausage and 12 eggs scrambled.
Damn.
And usually combined.
Wow.
And he also told me to never forget my keys when I leave the house. When my mom and stepdad first gave me a set of keys to our condominium, because hashtag the struggle is real.
Gotcha.
They gave me a key and I lost it. They gave me a second key and I lost it. Third fucking time's a charm. He was like, "Where were you?" I was in the back of the condo playing with my buddies. Like, well, you're going to go search. You're going to comb through every blade of grass until you find that key, because we're not going to give you another key.
Oh, wow.
You're going to sit in the hall before we buy you another key. So?
Did you find it?
I went out.
And had another key made.
No. I went outside. It was pitch black. No moon. And it was me. It was my buddy Matt. And it was my mom. And we went out with 2 flashlights and found the keys. And since that day, it's about 10 years old. I'm 37 now. I have never lost my keys.
Wow.
I've never lost them. Never, ever, ever. To this day.
I had to knock for you.
Thank you. I've never, ever lost them. Now, he died of cancer a couple years ago. And he and my mom had a kind of a complicated relationship, except for the fact that, she loved him. I think they were just kind of like best friends at a certain point. And my mom's got a new guy. And this guy, Bill, I've never seen my mom in my 37 years of life. I've never seen her happier than she is now.
Well, good.
And my dad and I are talking, and I call him at least once every week or two, and we usually shoot the shit on sports and stuff in the news, because he's very right wing politically, and I'm moderate and flexible in my politicism.
Gives you something to talk about.
That's correct. And so basically, I didn't really have, except for my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, my uncle Andre, my father-in-law Warren. God rest his soul, because I love that man. I miss him so much. I didn't have a path. I've heard a similar phrasing, and I know I'm probably going to butcher it, but it basically goes something like this. In life, there's 2 paths you can take. You can take the path of your parents and have that wisdom and guidance and follow it, or you can go to the complete opposite way and just kind of figure it out as you go along.
Right.
There's no way in fuck I was going to go the way that my dad, my mom, or my stepdad did.
Right.
That was just not going to happen.
Right.
Because they were all fucked up.
That's not...
all fucked up. And that's not shitty. That's the truth.
I was just about to tell you, don't be shitty.
They were all fucked up. Okay? So I went my own path. But there's one thing I learned to be. I learned how not to be a bad father.
Fair enough.
And I love my dad, and he and I get along now, and we're cool and everything, and I'm not besmirching, because when he was around me, he was a great father. Right. Great father. Like King Kong, top of the fucking tower. I mean, like the best dad, but he wasn't there.
Gotcha.
And part of being a great father is you have to be there. You got to physically be there. You got to be there for your kids. You just have to. There's just no 2 ways around it. That's why I made the change at work, so I could come home earlier, so I could walk my kid home from school and be there for him and spend time with him and stuff. Those are sacrifices you do for your kids. You sacrifice for your kids. Right. So I went the other path. And I feel like I'm doing a much better job than if I would have followed the same path as all of my other parentage along the way. So I'm gonna close on this. If you have children, whether you're a mom, whether you're a dad, whether you're a step parent, if you've got children in the household, or even if you don't have children in the hospital, parent is not just a noun. It's a motherfucking verb. You have to be there to parent them. If it's phone calls, if it's Skype.